Hey, everybody. Welcome to another interview on this series. Today, we're joined by Tobi-Sho Silva, who is a professional footballer. He's played for a number of different, I say this prayed for. He's played for a number of different teams and prayed. And he's currently at Sutton United. Am I correct in saying that?
Sutton United. Right.
Yeah. And I just thought what we will do today is explore, faith, football. Now, do they even mix? I know some people, when they think about football, it's the thing you watch on the weekends. It's the thing you watch in the evenings. It's kind of separate from faith, isn't it? But you're someone who's a Christian, who's in the world of sport. And I just thought we would explore a bit about, how you came to faith and how your faith plays out, in sport. As you know, our desire here is to help people know the gospel, preach the gospel. So I'm just wondering, how your belief, if you like, plays out when you are on the football pitch and in the changing rooms and stuff like that. So we should probably first start by meeting you, man. Like, tell us who you are, what you do, what your name is, and a bit about how you came to know Jesus.
No, thank you for having me on, Mike. My name's Tobi-Sho Silva. Like Mike said, currently playing for Sutton United. Been playing football for the last, 14, 15 years. Started in the Sunday League, inspired by my brother who used to play. And that just kind of inspired me to start playing locally in my area, Southeast London. Started off as a striker, for you strikers out there. Keep going. Got scouted when I was 11 for Charlton, and came through the academy there. Was at the academy there for till I got my scholar for 4 years and done my scholarship there. Kind of older people call it a YTS apprenticeship, and then got a 3-year pro there as well. And just kind of been playing non-league since. Went to go and play in Scotland. In the midst of that, kind of grew up in church. Church was a thing where we just had to go as a family. So it was more of a religious thing, being dragged to church on a Sunday. But really kind of encountered Christ personally once I snapped my Achilles playing football. Kind of built my life on football and the football culture, kind of going out with the lads, drinking, partying and different things. And I thought football was everything. I thought it was my identity. I thought it was my purpose. Until one day I went to church on the Sunday, expecting that me going to church equated to me being blessed. Basically, snapped my Achilles on the Tuesday evening, and I had so many questions for God. And he said that you've got a bigger purpose than to just be a professional footballer. And my identity was questioned, my purpose was questioned, and I really had questions for the Lord. And someone shared the gospel with me, and he said, this empty void that you've got inside of you, only Jesus can fill it. And I really just accepted Christ into my heart, and he started to transform my life. And then the journey just continued from there. Being a born again believer for the last 6 years now.
So, Amen. I love stories when I hear about a random person just told you the gospel. Do you remember who this person was?
I do. I actually do. I used to go to a youth church, just because my friends used to go, and I was a socialite. I still a little bit am. So wherever the party was, that's where I was. And was
here for a good time, not a long time.
That's it, So wherever it was popping, wherever everyone was, that's where I was. And they shared the gospel there. And I went up to the guy afterwards, and I just snapped my Achilles. And I had so many questions, and he basically answered, and he took his time out to answer each and every one. I always encourage people to say any questions that you've got about Jesus, about the gospel, get them answered. Really get them answered.
I love that. I love it because obviously when it comes to, when people think about their salvation journey, I think everyone dreams sometimes, or I guess subconsciously or on whatever it is, we think, a man in front of a church preaching a powerful sermon, everyone rising. That's how salvation happens. But of course, it doesn't all the time. It happens with, faithful men who love God, just being faithful. In the car, maybe it's on, walking to the shop, all these little moments, them ministering the gospel there. That's where it happens. So that's so beautiful to hear. And I think that's so powerful too, that it wasn't, it wasn't some mega pastor that came and tapped your head and that's how it happened. It was in it was in a place that we probably didn't expect it. So you snap your Achilles heel, you get saved, and now you're a Christian. What happens next? You just go back to the changing rooms and, you just have a different way about you. What changed like in your life after you became a Christian?
For me, I think that my desires started to change. I went back to the old things that I was doing, but it didn't feel right. It was like these things felt uncomfortable. I felt that these things were wrong, and I changed kind of over the course of maybe 2-3 months. I stopped going out. I stopped kind of drinking and finding myself reading the word more.
You just stopped.
I decided to, yeah. It was over a journey, but it was where I'll continue to go out, but I was just like, this doesn't feel right. I'm not meant to be here. I felt like I was meant to be somewhere else, and my heart was heavy. That's the only way I can kind of describe it. That my heart was heavy, that I shouldn't be involved in these things. And I felt that I started to speak to the person who led me to the Lord, and he said that the Lord will start to give you different desires, and he'll start to transform your heart to love the things that he loved and hate the things that he hated. And started to journey and found myself in different communities and different circles, and really just started to pursue the Lord.
So what did you do instead? When people say like they stopped clubbing and stopped drinking, I'm just thinking, what, did you just sit home and kind of just
with my arms crossed?
Yeah. What did you do instead? For someone who's wondering what, during that time where you're still kind of working things out, when you weren't clubbing or you decided not to do that anymore, what did you do instead?
I think for me, it was quite a drastic stop. Really? I think if you spoke to the people that I used to chill around with before, I would be leading people to, yeah, let's go out, let's go and do this stuff. And then maybe within a week, Toby, are you coming? I'm like, no, I'm not coming anymore. And there was a pressure constantly because that's who they had known me as. But I just I had no peace to go and continue. So it was kind of drastic. Obviously, I wasn't just sitting at home. I had other friends and started getting closer to people that knew the Lord, and started to spend more time actually going to church, spending more time in conversations. And it's quite, yeah, it was quite a journey. And quite a time.
I want to find out a bit more about that tension, and I only want to find out because it's the reality of being saved. The Bible speaks about. There's a story in the Bible where there's a man who wants to follow Jesus, and he's like, "But someone's dead, so I need to bury them." And Jesus says, "The dead bury the dead. Let's go." And that's a part of the scripture. It always jostles people's hearts a bit because it presents this kind of, let's get it, let's move Jesus, as it were. And there's lots to kind of flesh out about that portion of scripture. But when we say stuff like, I just stopped doing this, I stopped doing that, to people who aren't Christians who may be watching this video can be like, but why? Why did you just stop like hanging out with your friends? Wouldn't it have been better for you to actually kind of just not cut them off, quote unquote? And how difficult was it as well to just kind of, the people you're used to texting, you're used to kind of having chats with, now you just don't talk to them anymore. How was navigating that period?
I think it was quite interesting because a lot of people I went to school with were in the faith. So I would still talk to them and do different things. But a lot of people at football knew me as this guy who's out there leading the charge to go to nightclubs and go and do different things and different activities. I feel that there was a kind of like a change in desire. Wait 1 sec. Can you re-ask the question? Sorry.
I just wanted you to speak a bit more about, what it was actually like doing that, like just kind of just stopping in a week, as you said, like you're changing your whole life basically, and the direction of your life in a week. So what was that like? Were there people resistant to that? Was it really easy for you to do? Like what was it like?
I think for me personally, I had experienced a lot of the stuff that I was going through, in terms of drinking, in terms of doing all of this other stuff within the football culture. that Christ was something new, which I felt like I had tasted and was right. It was like I was searching for something, but never arriving. And then when I started to hear about the gospel, when I started to hear about Christ, it seemed like not I had arrived, but I was on the journey to get into kind of what was going to satisfy my heart. So for me, it didn't make sense to continue in this way of something that was dissatisfying to me and actually pursue something that was. And I think that kind of passion and that hunger that I had to say, I think this is the right way to go. I've had a bit of a taste of it. Let me continue in this way and not go back to what I previously had experienced and wasn't actually satisfying me.
Okay, I got you. So essentially, even when you were doing the things you were doing before, this new way was better because that wasn't actually satifying you.
Yeah, I remember being in a nightclub one time, and I just saw a girl dancing like this, but then I was just like, it looks like she doesn't want to be here, and I feel like I don't want to be here, and it's like there's this fake enjoyment that we keep turning up every weekend to kind of create. But it's not hitting the spot. It's not scratching the itch that we have.
Come on.
And that started to kind of dawn on me to say, do you want to go back there to dance with this girl like this and then leave and come back next week and we're still going to not be completely satisfied? But then when you actually kind of experience Christ and my heart started to change, I was like, this is it, and I think the scriptures say, taste and see that the Lord is good, and I felt like I had tasted something that I hadn't tasted before, and that I was searching for. And I think the world provides you with all of these different things. As a footballer, you get a bit of fame, you get a bit of attention, you get a bit of success, but Christ, it doesn't compare. It genuinely didn't compare. So in my head, it was just like it was a decision of, this doesn't make sense to go back. It just doesn't make sense to go back.
It's so powerful what you're saying, because it is that thing that Christians sometimes get wrong when they first get saved. Maybe there might be some people that I'm discipling and we're talking about sin. And, one of their things is, how do I stop sinning? And how do I stop sinning? And they want sin to taste bad, right? Because that would be helpful if sin was actually, tasted bad. But some sin tastes good, right? And maybe we'll use a lowercase good, right? We'll say it tastes good. And so, when we think about the joy that God promises, it's meant to be a greater joy than the thing you're currently tasting. So it's almost as if God doesn't want to, change the taste of the thing you're currently tasting, but he wants it to be mastered by a greater joy, basically a greater good. And it seems like that's what you're talking about there. That when you found Jesus, it just tasted so much better than anything else you've ever tasted, that you weren't trying to not club. You just fell in love with something else that that God had to offer you, something that just paled in comparison.
Yeah.
I guess one thing that might be shocking for people to know, and I would love to get you to talk about it, is just like I said at the start when I was introducing this segment, like most people, when they think about football, they think about kind of gospel, they just see it as kind of like chalk and cheese a bit. It's like they don't really mix, because football is all about, you're the star, you're great, you earn way more than you should be earning. I'm joking. You earn lots, millions every week. Right? Everyone loves you and everyone's clapping for you. As a Christian, when you got saved and you started to see things a bit differently, how did that affect your football and how you navigated the footballing world?
I think for me, when I got saved, it was obviously when I snapped my Achilles. So I was out for 7 months straight away, found the Lord out injured. So this wealth and blessings of, you come to Christ, everything's going to be great and rosy, kind of was on the back burner in my head, because I was like, I found Christ, but my world doesn't look like it's accelerating, getting so much better. So all this kind of name it and claim it, health and wealth gospel, I didn't kind of get that or understand that, because he was a treasure. It's like I had that health and the wealth, and it wasn't satisfying. But then I found him without the wealth and the health necessarily, and he was enough and he was sufficient. So I think the football world, how I started to navigate through it, I just started to kind of just journey in delighting in him. I think you're gonna have to ask me the question again. Sorry, I'm sorry.
So is it? I think you're like a preacher. Once you get into it.
Oh, sorry, I know.
It's okay if you don't answer the question. By the way, Toby, because it's it's not a deposition.
I know.
You just preach. If you want to preach, you preach and just let it out, man.
Cool. I'll ask the question again. Oh man,
are you a Christian? No, I'm joking. Christian answer. No. Tell us some of the things that viewers watching this interview may not know about the football world, or just help us wake up a bit, because there's some things that we from the outside looking in we can't quite see. What are some of the things that you think we would be kind of not shocked, but that we don't know we ought to know?
Okay, that's good. So yeah, I guess there's a culture in the football change room to kind of go with the flow, as you would say. So if everyone's going out, you should be going out. If everyone's drinking, you should be drinking. And sometimes when you stand out from that, for whatever reason, you can kind of be in your own little lane, and people might not feel like you're a team player, because you're not doing what everyone else is doing. Obviously, everyone is pushing for success. Everyone wants to win. Such a driven environment. So if you see somebody who's on the outside doesn't feel like part of the team, you can kind of feel like you're compromising, or you have to compromise to fit in. I think that's a difficult struggle. I think a lot of boys also, there's a lot of banter in the change room. So normally, like, you'll get a lot of names thrown at you: Bible Basher, man of the cloth, you're the godly guy. And if you step out of line, especially when you're early on in your faith, people will point you out. Oh, but I thought you were a Christian. Oh, but I thought you don't even really need to do anything. But there's a lot of kind of eyes on you, just to kind of see you kind of.
And how does that feel? How do you handle that?
I think it's difficult to start off with, but I think in terms of combating that, I think you need to find a community of Christians, like-minded Christians that can support you in that and help you navigate through the space. I was reading through Acts the other day, and Paul was talking about when he was preaching, he preached in the same language as the people that he was speaking to, and their ears started to kind of perk up. And I think when you have people around you that actually understand the language and the culture of football, they can help you navigate through the space. And I think I was quite fortunate early on, because I was actually seeking after this community. I was seeking after other believers that were following Jesus. And I found a few friends. I reached out to a few people who actually had been walking ahead of me, to be able to help me navigate through some of the difficulties that there is in football. I think it can be quite a lonely place as a Christian, because you're not necessarily thinking the way that your teammates think, or they're thinking the way that your manager thinks, and they can think that you're different in a way, and they treat you like that sometimes. Okay. So I think it's just
tell us a bit more about that, about you standing out, because Matthew 5:14 we're told about standing out and how it's an amazing thing. A city on a hill we're likened to, you cannot hide its lights, right? And you don't turn up a lamp and put it under a bucket, we're told. So being a bright light is really praised. But I guess in football, do you think about it that way? Or are you trying to stand out for being a Christian? And, we always talk about that moment, don't we, where when Kaka took off his shirt and it said, I belong to Jesus, and everyone's like, yeah. Is that what it's like? Is that what you want? Or is it something different that happens when you're in the changing rooms, or you're on the training pitch?
Yeah, I think people react to it differently. We kind of talk about football being like a roller coaster. So highs and lows, and kind of living it more than you're preaching it, because people are really going to see your actions when you're injured, when we lose, when we win. How are you going to respond? And having a different response to the other players can either challenge them because of maybe your vulnerability or your honesty, or it can also inspire them and get them to ask you, how do you still have joy in the midst of suffering? Do you know what I mean? How do you still have hope? Why are you still training the way that you train, even though you're not in the team? And we kind of have a different mindset to a lot of players in the change room, and they start to see that, and they start to ask questions. And I think that's the biggest thing, that you want to be a light through the way that you live and conduct yourself. So people ask questions about your hope. They ask questions about your faith. They ask questions about why you're different. But sometimes you don't always embrace being different because it is difficult. And sometimes you do just want to kind of just keep yourself to yourself, but we're called to be a light, and lights just shine, and sometimes we want to kind of hide away in the background, not share our faith and not live to the fullest that we are in the changing room because of maybe a bit of backlash or maybe a bit of persecution.
I think it would be great for you to speak to two sets of different people, and just and really kind of address them. One is football fans who watch football, enjoy football, are believers, but probably are hearing about some of these things for the first time and just have never really thought about what Christian footballers must go through. If you work in a bank, you got lunchtime. Yeah, you could. People ask you what you're doing the weekend. You say I was in church, and it's kind of that's. Whereas in football, it's a big thing, isn't it? To kind of come out as like I'm a Christian, and not just like a nominal cultural Christian, but I genuinely follow Jesus. So what would you say to football fans? And also, what would you say to footballers who may be watching this? You may have seen your name and went, hey, I know Toby, let's listen to him. What do you wish footballers would do more? What do you want to kind of say to encourage them? You can pick whatever group first and just kind of say what's on your heart to them. You can be a man of the cloth. You already confessed. Some folks call you. So
have you heard that one before? You must have.
No, I haven't. I don't. I mean, what does that mean again? That man of the cloth is like a priest, right?
Yeah, it's like a priest.
Yeah,
like a priest.
I could see you as a kind of youth priest.
Youth priest.
You've got a hat on,
A youth man of the cloth. Anyway, to footballers out there, just encourage them in their faith. I think to keep charging on. I think living it is so important, but not just living it just because you live it. Love Jesus so much that it just flows from your life. Really get into an intimate relationship and allow him to transform you so that you just live it naturally. And I think we receive from him and it kind of pours out in the way that we do things, in the way that we play, in the way that we live, the way that we interact with teammates. Don't just be a Christian for the sake of being a Christian, like really just enjoy it and enjoy him, and know him, because he will transform your life, and know that you're not there alone. There's other Christians out there to support you in this walk, to help you know Jesus more, to help you share him more in the changing room and navigate through the spaces of football, because we do come up against different challenges that we might face, whether it's injury, whether it's not having a club, whether it's sharing faith with a teammate, whether someone asking you questions about the faith. There's other people who have journeyed and are journeying in football to make a stronger voice for Jesus and to make his name known. So you're definitely not alone. And then to football fans, again, share your faith. Be bold to let people know that you're a Christian, but even talk about other Christian footballers. Pray for us in the industry. Pray for fans. Start different initiatives. If you know Arsenal fans or Manchester United fans that are in the faith, do something together. Build community together around Jesus and invite other non-believing fans to that community, because football is such a powerful tool. And it's such a powerful language that transcends cultures, transcends ages, transcends generations. And the Lord has gifted us with the passion for it. He's gifted us footballers with the skill for it. But ultimately, there's nothing greater than knowing Jesus. I always say it, that football's great, but Jesus is greater. And if we live with this mindset that we want everyone to know him first, that should be the ultimate goal, that we first know him, but to make him known. In whatever we're doing, and especially through football, it'll be an amazing thing. So
that's so amazing there. It's there's enough there for people to chew on, to digest, to really think about. In many ways, becoming a footballer is kind of like winning the lottery, isn't it? Because a lot of people want it. Yeah. You ask any dad, and they're just like, I just want my son to be a footballer. But as is the case with people who win the lottery, I was watching a documentary not too long ago about it wasn't a documentary, it was like a short doc on YouTube, so it was about 10 minutes long, and it was looking into the lives of a couple of people who had won the lottery, and what it didn't anticipate was all the pressure that comes from winning the lottery. So the fact that family members start coming in from nowhere, like, hi Jake, when I was pushing you on the swings when you were 6, I need £30,000, and it was really sad actually, the documentary, because it showed just like how much stress some of them went on, and a ridiculous percent of the people who won the Powerball in America actually died a couple of years after. And it was just really it was a really dark documentary to watch, but in a way it kind of showed that all that glitters isn't gold point, right? This idea that from the outside you just see people kicking a ball who essentially have won the lottery. They're doing something they love, they're receiving money for it, praise, adulation. But what we don't see, as often is the case, is the behind the scenes, the struggles, the pain, the pressure, the fact that, your calendar is so different to all your friends' calendar. So you can't organize anything together because you're always training, all these different things. And so I think you're right. We have to pray, because it's a system that we don't quite fully understand. And that's where prayer comes in. And I also pray that what you said to young footballers, or to footballers rather, where they should come together, seek community. That's consistent with what we learn in the Bible. The book of Acts that you spoke about, we saw community there proper from Acts 2. We just saw people coming together, and in Acts 9 we learned that they lifted each other up, they bore each other's burdens. In Acts 5 you see how they sold different things and met the needs of other people. Community, so powerful. So thank you for taking part in this, and thank you all for watching. I hope this was it was interesting for you, even if you're not a footballer. If you just kind of clicked on, thank you so much. I hope that you'll subscribe, and turn your notification bell, so you're first to find out when we have new videos. And of course, I know, Toby, you're not alone. You're part of a ministry called F3 Football. Can you just tell us, like, in a minute, what is F3 Football? Where can people find F3 Football if they want to find out more about what you guys do?
Yeah, F3 Football is just a community of Christian footballers. We've come together. We've got about 60 to 70 boys that are playing in a range of leagues, from the Premier League all the way down. And we come together on a Friday evening to do Bible studies. We do conferences, we do retreats, mission trips. But really, we just want to build up players in football, to really just be able to share the gospel and to really know Christ and live out Christ through them. So that others can know him and make him known. So that's F3 Football. You can find us on Instagram, F3 Football 1, and then also we've got a podcast out as well, and that's through Spotify as well, called the F3 Podcast. So
love it. Amazing, good work, and hope to speak to you very, very soon. Thank you.
Cheers.